This is my introductory video that I said I was postponing because I was sick at the beginning of the week, and that sucked. My name is Sabrina Robinson. This is actually the introductory video for both science fiction and madness. Both of my classes, because they work in basically the same ways, although the material, of course, is different. Regarding being sick, I'm going to use now as the opportunity to bring up the fact, and because there's no non-awkward time to do it, that I do have a chronic illness and sometimes I get sick, and it almost never affects class, but occasionally it does, and if it does, I work with it. But my main point in bringing this up is to say that I understand that there are things in our lives that are uncontrollable by us, but do impact us as students and as employees, right, in our jobs and in our classes and so forth. And regardless of what process you have been through with disability resources, or if you haven't been through a process there at all, I never want you to freak out and feel like, something's happened and you didn't get the work done and what you email me. We will always work it out. I want to be as accommodating as possible in all of my classes, always, forever. Because that's just sort of my philosophy of life. And for the same reason, too, I'm being very flexible about the synchronous parts of the class. The synchronous parts of the class are the Zoom calls that will commence next week. Thursdays for sci-fi, Tuesdays definitely for madness. We can actually decide amongst ourselves week to week if we need the second call. That's totally up to us. I don't want you to think I don't think the Zoom calls are important. I think it actually is going to be extremely useful for you to not just get to talk to me in real time and ask questions and get responses and hear my prompts and thoughts and so forth, but also to talk to each other. I mean, the people that you'll be talking to in your groups and your whole class discussions and so forth, being able to have actual conversations with them, I think, is going to be very useful to you. So I don't want to dissuade you from the Zoom calls at all. But they're not required just because internet access is much more variable than I think universities all over America want to admit this this fall, right? I spent the day on Zoom calls for another course, and I had internet problems. My husband is also working from home, using our internet. So I had some connectivity problems. I had students that had connectivity problems. I had some students that just, like, for mystery reasons, the Zoom link wasn't working, etc., right? And so I think that it's smart to lean into the advantages that online education offers. And I think one of those advantages is that you can do a lot of work asynchronously. Now, that being said, the course is in modules. And each module has work that has to be completed, not just by the end of the module, but for common sense's sake, sort of week to week. Because there is an order, and this is true in both classes, watch this, then read this, then read this, then watch this, then read this, then comment on this, right? And it has to go in a certain order. And so obviously if you self-pace, excuse me, and leave everything till, the last 3 days of a 3 or 4 week module, that's not good, right? But it's also, the course is also designed so that aside from those Zoom calls, you can be flexible from week to week. If it takes you an extra day to get things read, if you post to the discussion board on Thursday instead of Wednesdays, that's fine. It can definitely accommodate that. And I think that flexibility is one of the best things about online education. It allows us to sort of be people and have lives. If we can't get to X point at Y time every single time reliably. So yeah, that's basically the shape of the classes in both of the courses. There will be modules. They're anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, depending. I will post lecture videos that you sort of watch before you do this reading, before you do that reading. Sometimes in science fiction, there will be movies to view. And also in science fiction, this is detailed on the syllabus, there's 2 books you should buy. They're both widely available, used online. I didn't even order them from the bookstore. You've got plenty of time to get them in the mail. Don't sweat it. Get them cheap somewhere. Madness, you don't have to buy anything. There is nothing that you have to buy. Almost everything in both courses is going to be available on the Canvas site through a link. or a file or such not. So anyway, in sci-fi, it's going to be watch a video, read the time machine, watch a video. In Madness, the first module is going to be watch a video, read two excuse me, I've been talking all day. Read 2 scholars, read 3 fairy tales, watch a video, read 2 more scholars, etc., right? Sort of in order. Read an excerpt from War and Peace. And then in both groups, or in both courses, you've been divided into groups. And each group will have, for every module, its own sort of niche discussion topic, and you should discuss that amongst yourselves and sort of become the experts in that one sort of area of the material. And then, maybe towards the end of the second week or the third week, whatever it is, of the module, you all come together on the whole class discussion board and, sort of talk amongst yourselves. And when you get into, that territory, the group who discussed it can be like, we discussed this and, blah, blah, blah. So you'll notice that the discussions are not graded for accuracy. They're just pass-fail. I don't want you to think that means not to take it seriously. They're that way because I really hope that you come to see this as a series of conversations where you come to understand material and different material from different sources and put it all together and make a coherent whole out of it. And anytime you're doing something like that, you're going to be wrong. Sometimes there are going to be blind alleys. You're going to have bad interpretations. You're going to have wrong ideas. Someone's going to have to correct you. You're going to have to critique this, go back, rethink that. And I never want you to, not post because you're afraid, but what if I'm wrong? Maybe this idea is dumb, blah, blah. That's not the idea here. Now, to get to pass, it's pass-fail. So to pass, you need to post more than 2 posts, right? I mean, I'm looking for quality, quantity, the whole thing, right? Because I said this is meant to be a conversation. But I never want you to hesitate to post, what if this is wrong? It might be wrong, right? But I mean, this is how things work in scholarship, right? You sort of look at all this material together and you talk to your colleagues and there's this idea. Can those ideas work together? Are they mutually exclusive? If they're mutually exclusive, which one should go? Blah, blah, blah. Right. You sort of defend ideas. If you think they're worth defending, you change your mind if somebody else convinces you. And all that's fine, right? Because you're coming to this as a novice and you're leaving maybe not necessarily as an expert, but hopefully as somebody with a pretty good understanding of the material, right? And that's a whole process, it's a whole conversation, and we got a few weeks to do it in, and you can do it in your little groups, and then you can all do it together to try and bring kind of bring a series of ideas into one coherent whole idea, right? And that's what we're doing, basically, with my help. And then so the 2 other things that get assigned, the things that actually do get graded, your group will have an outline due at the end of each module, basically outlining what you see as the most important points in all the material, right? If you're going to outline the module as if you were going to write a paper about it, And then individually, everybody will have to turn in an essay at the end of a module. Obviously, if some of you worked on an outline together, there's going to be similarities, but I do want it to be your own work. And so besides just a summary of what you learned in that module, I want each one of these essays to individually talk about the aspect of the work that you found most interesting or infuriating, how you analyzed it, how you want to criticize it, whatever. But that sort of personal touch of, and when we were talking about this, I really, blah, 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 whatever it may be. And so those will get individually graded. And that's, for both courses, that's how this works. These kinds of ongoing conversations about different topics, relying on different works and, sort of input from me. And those Zoom calls when you get the chance to ask questions and clarify, etc., etc. So, that is how things will work. We will kick this all off next Monday. I will post videos on Mondays, generally, like lecture videos. I don't know, by sometime in the afternoon. Right? You know, like I get up on Monday and I have some coffee and I look over what I'm doing for the day and check my email and then, lecture. And I will post a link to Zoom calls for the week, and we'll start there. And in the meantime, like I said, check out the syllabus. The first modules are available in both classes. Check those out. You can read the discussion prompts now. I mean, you could start doing the reading now if you wanted to. If you're like, oh, I've got time right now. Okay, you could start doing the reading without my introductory videos, especially in Madness. You know, but whatever. Or just chill out and freak out because this is all a lot, right? In these after times of the plague. Anyway, we'll get a chance to talk to each other more next week, and I look forward to working with all of you.